It's now time to look at the rest of your report, which is presented in a series of graphic and narrative behavioral measures we call behavioral dashboards. So what is this crazy dashboard thing anyway? A behavioral dashboard is an easy-to-understand measurement and visual picture of how you behave, and it focuses on your personal strengths. These dashboards present a series of important but contrasting behavioral scales, scales that measure one approach to a specific behavior versus an opposite approach. The dashboard quickly and simply defines your intuitive behavior in dealing with common, everyday situations, as well as the interpersonal relationships in your life. The Personal Strengths Inventory measures your behavior in 7 separate categories. Each dashboard offers insight into your personality and preferred style. Do these dashboards say which behavior is best? Absolutely not. There is no best behavior. Remember, the Personal Strengths Inventory is not a test. It's a comparative survey, and every behavior can be positive if used appropriately. Positive, proactive behavior is when you are doing things by choice and you are making things happen. That's what we want to help you do more effectively. Negative, knee-jerk, or reactive behavior is when you're not choosing to do things, but rather letting things happen. And we want to help you manage those moments of stress more effectively. So another important question is, can you pick and choose behavior? Of course you can. That's the whole point of the PSI process. Your Personal Strengths Inventory does not say this is who you are. Sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. If that were true, what in the world would be the value? Rather, PSI says this is how you are likely to behave intuitively when you're not even paying attention. By knowing your intuitive strengths, you can learn when to apply them and when to deliberately choose to behave differently if a situation requires it. If we did not have choice over our behavior, again, what would be the value of an assessment tool like PSI? Another question is, how can you use these dashboards? Each dashboard shows you which way you lean on a given behavioral scale. And like a speedometer, it tells you how fast or how slow you typically go. By bringing clear definition to your strengths and pointing out a contrasting and complementary approach, you can step on the gas or apply the brakes as needed when a given situation calls for it. Think of it as a mind game that you must learn to play. A mind game that helps you develop new skills. And as with any skill, proficiency takes a lot of repetitive practice. The more you practice, the better you get. We hope you enjoy this opportunity to learn more about yourself, your personal strengths, and your intuitive behavior. We want you to develop great skill and competency in using the self-knowledge contained in your PSI profile. And one more very important question is whether the dashboards really measure your behavior. Well, quite frankly, that is ultimately a matter of self-validation. But do you remember the first time you heard your own voice on a tape recorder? What did you say? If you're like most people, you said, "That's not me." And if you said that out loud, everyone else said, "Oh, yes, it is." We all have a perception of who we are, and it's an accurate perception based on our own point of view. What we cannot know is how we appear to others. None of us have ever been inside someone else's head. Most PSI participants are surprised at just how accurate the information about them is. But because it's a man-made process, it cannot be perfect. If you find something in your report that you disagree with, maybe you're right, maybe we missed you. But we recommend that you take that insight to someone who has known you very well for a very long time, a parent, a sibling, a spouse, or your best friend. And here's what you are very likely going to hear them say. "I've been trying to tell you that forever." All of us have blind spots, and your PSI profile can help you see them more clearly. For most people, the Personal Strengths Inventory is a highly self-validating experience, and we hope that you find it to be reliable for you as well. The first dashboard measures how you prefer to work with others. It measures how we work and socialize with others in groups. Do you like to work by yourself, alone, or in a small group? Is that your preferred approach? Or is your strength a preference to work with everyone in large groups of people, getting people to join in and participate and build consensus? If your sociability score is high, you probably are a very outgoing person. You meet and greet people easily. You can meet a total stranger and become a lifelong friend in under 3 minutes and 12 seconds. You make good first impressions, and you are most effective when you are with and around other people. You are good at building consensus, and it's important for you to get people to join in and belong. You like meetings and group activities, and you not only keep your door open, you're usually the one standing in everyone else's door. One of the potential on-the-job implications for you is that a lot of people will defer to your outgoing style and will take a back seat. When the team or group needs to hear everyone's point of view, you may need to consciously and deliberately play a quieter role sometimes. If your independence score is high, your strength is self-sufficiency, and you are good at working alone or in small groups. You are probably a fairly reserved person, and you really value your privacy. We don't typically see you behaving in a highly outgoing way. You want to fit in and belong, and you don't mind coming to staff meetings, preferably no more than once a year, but you want to know what is expected of you, and then you prefer to be left alone because you've got work to do. If your independence score is extremely high, other people may consider you a little shy or aloof, and if you have an office door, you prefer to keep it closed. A potential on-the-job implication for you is that others may question your commitment and enthusiasm for the team or the group's agenda and goals. So be sure to deliberately and openly express your commitment and interest more often. If your score is more moderate, most of the time you may be quite engaging, gracious, and relatively outgoing, but in your mind you really value time alone, time when you do not have to please or live up to other people's expectations. My wife Carolyn is like this. Carolyn is a very friendly and outgoing person. She's a great hostess, and people find her to be very comfortable in their presence. She also has a pretty big job and manages a fairly good-sized staff of people all week long. So her idea of a great Friday night is a book, a glass of wine, a very quiet setting, and sometimes she would prefer to get me out of the house. And some people like this can be socially selective. If this is you, you're certainly very friendly, but you truly like to pick and choose your relationships carefully, and you may have a handful of very special relationships that you rely on more than all the others, those less important relationships in your life. One of the potential on-the-job implications for you is that, again, you are intuitively more comfortable with a select group of relationships, and you gravitate towards some people more easily than others. You may tend to rely on those relationships more, and unintentionally, you may appear to have a clique of trusted friends, and some people will feel excluded. You need to pay special and deliberate attention to including everyone more often. How we work with others is obviously important to what we accomplish. I hope that knowing more about your intuitive behavior in this regard will help you pick and choose the most appropriate approach, collaborative or self-sufficient, for each occasion. Thank you again for your interest and participation, and as always, we appreciate your business. I hope you're becoming a satisfied customer for all of this crazy psychobabble. I look forward to you joining me in the next session, where we'll take a look at how you deal with change.